My name is Simi Labisi and I'm the Organising Secretary at Esteli IH. It is my pleasure to welcome you to yet another remarkable moment when we celebrate the core essence of our interventions, the Triple Action Project. Comprising of the TRIO project is the International Day of Sign Languages, or IDSL, the International Literacy Day, or ILD, and the International Week of the Deaf, IWDeaf. In this year's Triple Action Project, we zero in on the three major themes of the day that represent where we are in our interventions: transforming literacy learning spaces for the deaf child, Indigenous Sign Languages in education, and Indigenous Sign Languages Unite Us. And we seek to provide answers to these questions. How can we transform literacy learning spaces for the deaf child? Why must we bring Indigenous Sign Languages into deaf education? And finally, how do we develop Indigenous Sign Languages to unite our diverse linguistic communities, both hearing and deaf? Fortunately, we have some linguists and sign language experts to help us answer these questions and shed more light on the significance of early sign language in child language development. But before we begin to tap into the fountain of knowledge and experiences of our experts, let us welcome Dr. Emma Assonye, the CEO of Esteli IH, for his opening remark.
Thank you, Simi. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to our Triple Action Project TAP 2022. Every year since 2014, we have joined the World Federation of the Deaf to do this. And we are glad to identify as one of the advocates for the promotion of sign language, deaf literacy and education, and the deaf people as a linguistic community. Contrary to what you may have heard or read, sign languages have always been an integral part of the human linguistic heritage, and humans have signed almost as much as they have spoken. Some sign languages, such as Adamrobe Sign Language in Ghana, Bura Sign Language in Nigeria, and Plains Indian Sign Language in America, have often been described in literature as a communal heritage, whereby deaf and hearing had relatively equal fluency. Sign languages were indigenous, communal, local, as well as contemporary. Today in our discussion, we present to you Indigenous Sign Language in education, as well as some of the classroom expressions documented from the Nigerian deaf community. We will also hear from some of the finest scholars in sign language studies. Permit me once again to welcome you to our Triple Action Project 2022, whereby we celebrate the International Literacy Day, the International Day of Sign Languages, and the International Week of the Deaf. You are welcome. Sit tight. I will hand you back over to our amiable anchor, Simi Labisi. Simi, over to you.
That sign languages have been around for as long as spoken languages for both deaf and hearing communities, and every sign language is indigenous to the community of origin. If I may, permit me to spotlight the African situation, where foreign spoken languages have only come to infiltrate the African languages, culture, and communities, with many foreign languages, such as English and French, being recognized as official or national languages. This same phenomenon can be seen throughout the history of sign language systems also. Throughout many indigenous signing systems and communities, the aftermaths of colonialism are starkly apparent, notably American Sign Language, or ASL. One of the greatest obstacles to the protection of Indigenous minority signing systems is the recognition, or rather lack of recognition, of sign languages as official languages of the people, both deaf and hearing. And this is especially prevalent in African contexts. Let us hear what some scholars think about this, especially the promotion of Indigenous sign languages for deaf education. Join me to welcome Dr. Mary Edward.
Hello, my name is Mary Edward, and today I'm here to talk to you about Indigenous sign languages for deaf education. So, advocacy for mother tongue education campaigns for a form of schooling which uses language or languages that children are most familiar with in order to help them learn. Similarly, deaf and hard of hearing children have the linguistic right to learn in languages that they are most familiar with. To have a successful deaf child education, we should encourage the use of Indigenous sign languages in deaf education. Deaf educational programs in the past mainly focus on literacy skills to the neglect of the languages to be used to attain literacy. It is an undeniable fact that the world has become a global village, and multilingualism is also inherent in many African countries. However, there is also evidence that some children are monolingual, and these include deaf children in indigenous deaf communities. Deaf children who are not fluent in urban or national sign languages tend to receive little or no language support in deaf schools, but they are immersed in new languages with the intention of giving them real languages so they can abandon their indigenous languages. A better approach to deaf education is encouraging the use of indigenous sign languages in deaf education. This can be achieved when stakeholders encourage the teaching and learning of indigenous sign languages in teacher training institutions. Bilingualism and multilingualism can become an additional benefit if the deaf child is given an early access to education in their own indigenous sign languages and later introduced to other sign languages. Language right is a human right, and access to education in a language a child understands is the best way to ensure that the right of the deaf child is not infringed on. Indigenous sign languages in education has important benefits to the deaf child, and these include the following. Deaf children are able to better learn faster in their own languages. Further, knowledge of going to school to use a language you understand and use makes education an enjoyable experience. To add to this, knowledge that one language is good enough to be used in education brings self-worth and increases student participation in class. The student who is taught in a language they understand tends to perform better than the student who is taught in a language they do not understand. Again, most complaints about deaf children can be annulled with a simple decision to educate them in a language they do understand. Teaching a deaf child who uses an indigenous sign language with a different language will reduce concentration and increase frustration. Most importantly, if deaf children have parents who use the same indigenous sign languages, parents can actively participate in their children's education if the language used to teach their children is the same language the parents use at home. Subsequently, the deaf students will perform better academically and delight in their own education, reducing absenteeism. Finally, the most productive means to sustain a language is to use it in education. Encouraging the use of indigenous sign languages in education will ensure the development and maintenance of those indigenous sign languages. We have a choice, and at SDELI, we choose to advocate the use of indigenous sign languages in education. Thank you.
You're always one of our finest, and we appreciate you for that intelligent contribution. The research, projects and campaigns led by SDELI IH are catalysts in achieving a multilingual, multicultural global community. We seek to challenge monolingual and monocultural signing systems and the implications they pose to the global linguistic community. The idea of a monolingual and monocultural global community threatens significant aspects of social life. They hurt our languages, cultures, families, and community ties. They are rooted in imperialism and colonialism and perpetuate unbalanced power dynamics between the global north and the global south. This is why we at Esteli IH believe in and advocate for the development and promotion of Indigenous signing systems. Early access to the sign language of the immediate environment of the deaf child is the linguistic right of the deaf child, and linguistic rights are human rights. Let us see some of our recently collected classroom expressions in Indigenous Nigerian Sign Language.
Isn't it beautiful to see these beautiful signs from the speakers of the language themselves? Isn't it wonderful? It is. You know, when we started the promotion of indigenous sign languages among sign language users in Nigeria, deaf and hearing people, people started coming up with excuses why we should not talk about indigenous sign languages. Why we should settle for what we have. Settle for what we have. That's the kind of things we started hearing. Oh yeah, we have American Sign Language, we should settle for it and make it a national sign language. And one of those excuses is that indigenous sign language is too local. It is too local to undertake educational or scientific discourse. Look at that. They were so sure that English or foreign sign language was sophisticated enough to solve all of their linguistic problems, all of their signing communication problems. Yeah, I mean, isn't it funny? Look at this. They failed to understand that prior to European imperialism and the colonization of Africa, indigenous African sign languages served the full purpose of communication and expression of thoughts. They happened. They served the full purpose of communication and expression of thoughts to their communities. And if the use and development of those languages were not disrupted, they would have continued to grow and expand in vocabulary, adapting to the changing global happenings, like any other language, like any other sign language that you might consider developed today. Now, let me shed more light on the scene you just watched. The signers you watched converged from the different deaf communities in Nigeria. They are all literate in English and in the school sign language. Of course, you know when we mention the school sign language in the Nigerian context, what we mean. In fact, some of them discovered their indigenous sign language signing skills just since we started this project of indigenous signs. So you can imagine that. The signers you watched just came together to work on this project for a couple of days. Yet, they were able to generate and synergize coherent strings of words and sentences, strictly in their local signs without the interference of the school sign language or the English-based sign language, which of course they call American Sign Language. Let's try to rewind a little bit to the 1980s. Let's rewind the time to 1980s. Let's rewind the setting to Nicaragua. Some of you may have heard about Nicaragua. Even if you didn't hear it, talk about the birth of a new language. This is the rebirth of an intentionally abandoned language. If you compare this to what happened in the 80s in Nicaragua, that's what it is. Abandoned by its speakers, abandoned by the government, and all those who were supposed to intentionally be contributing to the growth and the development of their language. That's the death of every language. You know, since we started the documentation and the development of indigenous Nigerian sign languages toward a more standard status and for education, people have always asked us, how are you going to document all the different sign languages in Nigeria into one component? Of course, you don't blame those that ask this kind of question. We understand such questions because it comes from the fact that Nigeria, we know, is a multilingual, multi-ethnic country, okay? And people think as many spoken languages there are in Nigeria, so are sign languages. So for those who ask this question, which we have often received in our work, I believe your answer lies in this short piece that you just watched, and in the similar pieces that we have brought to you today and over time. All right. I just want to hand you over back to our anchor, Simi Labisi, and I want to promise you that there's more. There's more to learn. Sit tight.
Systems are part and parcel of our communicative and linguistic heritage. Our focus is on the more neglected signing systems, languages that have been insufficiently documented, Indigenous sign languages that have been excluded from the local and national educational system, and languages that are at risk of extinction across the world, not just Nigeria or Africa alone. Linguistic imperialism in sign language is not just an African thing. It cuts across communities within the global village, and we can change the story. As a result, we have continued to take our advocacy beyond Africa, reaching out and collaborating with individuals and entities of like minds, some of whom you're about to hear from in this program. Through protection, preservation, and advocacy for these languages, we seek to enrich our linguistic prowess. Now, let's welcome Adam Shembri, one of the finest sign linguists on the global stage.
Hello, my name is Adam Shembri. I'm a professor in linguistics here at the University of Birmingham in the United Kingdom. I've been asked to talk a little bit today about the value of sign languages in deaf education, particularly during this week, which is the International Week of Deaf People, and most importantly, the 22nd of September, which is the International Day of Sign Languages. My research over the last 25 years or more has been focused on understanding the structure and use of sign languages in deaf communities. In particular, I have worked on the grammar, vocabulary, variation, and change in two sign languages, Auslan, which is the majority sign language of the Australian deaf community, and the related variety, British Sign Language, which is the majority sign language here in the United Kingdom. Most importantly, I've also conducted research with a number of other colleagues on the effects of language deprivation amongst adult deaf people here in the United Kingdom. In particular, we have done studies that demonstrate that the level of grammatical skills acquired by deaf adults very much depends on their age of acquisition of British Sign Language. So, for example, our research has shown that deaf adults who acquired British Sign Language from birth or from a very young age outperform in grammatical tests the deaf adults who have acquired BSL at a later age due to delayed exposure to the language, probably as a result of educational policies which mistakenly prevented access to sign languages for those deaf adults when they were children. This research and other research conducted by researchers in the education of deaf children leaves no doubt in my mind that deaf children who acquire sign languages, particularly the local sign languages of their local community, who acquire these sign languages at a very young age, outperform deaf children academically who do not have such early access to sign languages. And in fact, the research indicates that contrary to widespread opinion amongst many medical professionals, for example, that these children also outperform others in terms of their ability to acquire the spoken and written languages of their surrounding communities. So as I said, during this International Week of Deaf People, and particularly to celebrate the International Day of Sign Languages, there's no doubt in my mind that sign languages provide the best guarantee of access to language and the best foundation for educational success for deaf and hard of hearing children.
Dr. Adam Shembri, for your wonderful presentation. Now let's hear from our wonderful signers themselves. Now I'm delighted to introduce Drew Balsley, a mental health clinician at the Learning Center for the Deaf in Massachusetts, USA. Insights and for joining us all the way from Massachusetts.
As we have come to the end of this episode of Triple Action Project 2022, we are glad that we have been able to make a point and make a case for indigenous sign languages. And before I hand you over to our anchor, Simi, who is broadcasting from Manchester, United Kingdom, I want to buttress a few points, which are the points we wanted you to go home with today. And those points come from the research questions we chose to ask, or rather provide answer to in this episode. How can we transform literacy learning spaces for the deaf child? And the answer to the question is nothing other than indigenous sign language. And I believe that you have heard it all from our guest speakers or guest contributors, and from our anchor, and from all we have shown you from our deaf signers themselves. When we use indigenous sign languages, sometimes people get confused, and there are three terms we use when we refer to the variety of sign language we are talking about: indigenous sign language, local sign language, or sign language of the immediate environment of the deaf child. Early literacy cannot happen for the deaf child without early access. And early access cannot take place with a foreign sign language. It has to be with the sign language of the immediate environment of the deaf child, the local sign language. That is the answer to that question. Now, I also wanted to point out that In today's episode, we have used Nigeria as a case study for other African communities, countries, and other minority communities in the global West, in the global South, wherever you can find yourself. If you are in an environment where a foreign sign language takes an upper hand, a foreign sign language has a more recognized status in deaf education, this episode applies to you. The lesson we got from this episode. You just need to know that there has to be a change of policy. That is one case we have made today. There has to be a change of policy in Nigerian deaf education to favor indigenous, local sign languages for deaf education. The second question that we have, which we wanted to answer today, is why must we bring indigenous sign language in deaf education? I also believe that our speakers have treated this question very, very well. The immediate sign language of a deaf child is so important for that deaf child to be literate or educated. Deaf children that are exposed to sign language early perform better academically than those that are exposed to sign language in the later days of their life. There are no two ways about it. And now, we wanted to say this. If you are a sign language user or a person who is working in the deaf community in Nigeria, and you keep asking for the government to recognize sign language in Nigeria, you are not doing the deaf children a favor, nor the deaf communities a favor, nor the deaf education a favor, nor even Nigeria as a country a favor. If you are asking for this and you are not emphasizing for the government to recognize the local sign languages in education. It is not enough to say we are marching or we are discussing or we are preaching or we are advocating for the government to recognize sign language in Nigeria. Which sign language? If you're asking for the recognition of the foreign-based sign language, the school sign language, you are not doing the deaf community a favor. You are not doing the Nigerian deaf education a favor. You are not doing the deaf children a favor. I think we need to change our message from today. This is the message that we have for you from SDLE IH, SDLE Indigenous Hands. How do we move forward from here? We are calling on all practitioners in the deaf community, all those who study or are dealing with sign languages and the deaf people, to please get to action. Deaf persons themselves, deaf communities themselves, it is so easy. You can be part of this. And it's so simple. You can call for a large-scale documentation of your local sign language, or you can contribute to the documentation by sending us sign languages that are used in deaf education, which we have tagged educational sign language. Talking about educational sign language, you are aware that our app has been updated with educational signs that we documented from Nigerian deaf community. And I want to let you know that this is a premium package. You can access this by going into your subscription or by going into your account and looking at what we have there for you. We have developed a curriculum for educational signs from the Nigerian deaf community. And we want to do this across deaf communities in Africa and beyond. At the end of today, we have been able to make the point that our local indigenous sign languages have the potentials for scientific discourse, have the potentials for educational discourse, and there are no two ways about it. I want to thank our guest contributors, Drew Barcy from the United States, Dr. Adam Shembri from the United Kingdom, Dr. Mary Edward, one of us from Canada, and I also want to express my full thanks to our organizing secretary, Simi Labisi from Manchester, United Kingdom, and our head of sign language interpreting, Blessing Ini from Nigeria. Thank you all that made today's Triple Action Project a huge success. Our fans, thank you for watching. All those that have been following our program, we give you thumbs up. Thank you. I hand you over to Simi Labisi. See you next year. Bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emma, for leading us through this year's TAP program. We've observed some of the most important days in the deaf calendar, we've heard from our esteemed guest speakers, and we've watched our amazing signers in action. Now it's time to discuss how you too can get involved. Esteli IH are inviting members of our global audience to get involved with the wonderful work we do. You can collaborate with us on a large community scale or individually. You can get in touch with us to conduct a sign language documentation project in your local community. Alternatively, you can submit examples of signs in your Indigenous sign languages directly to us. If you would like to share signs with us, please reach out to us via email at info@indigenous-hands.com or any of our social media platforms or via WhatsApp. Just tell us you'd like to send in some signs and we will send you a form to complete. We will also share a guide that helps you plan, record and send in your signed videos. Well everyone, that's all from me. I'd like to say a massive thank you to the entire team Esteli IH for their invaluable contributions to this year's program. To our amazing signers and our wonderful interpreter Blessing, thank you very much for all your hard work. A massive thank you to our guest speakers who joined us from all over the world. And last but certainly not least, a huge thank you to Dr. Emma for making this year's TAP vision into a reality. I'd like to say a special thank you to you, our audience, for joining us for this year's TAP program and for all your continued support throughout the year. We look forward next year to returning with even more exciting projects and programs. To stay in touch with Team Esteli IH and keep up to date with all of the announcements and projects and exciting upcoming events, make sure to follow us across all our social media platforms and subscribe to all our channels. If you would like to discuss anything from this year's TAP program further, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via email, phone or social media. We are also really keen to hear feedback about this year's program, so if you have anything that you would like to discuss or if you have anything you'd like to share about things that you enjoyed about the program or any areas that we could improve upon or any areas you would like us to discuss next year, please also reach out to us via phone, email or social media. Once again, thank you very much for joining us on this year's TAP program and we wish you all the best.